Blame it on me. You're just too scared to be lonely. No one's safe from the reaper. Not a saint nor a sinner. Rage under my skin, slowly descending to madness. Let it spread like a virus. Be a friend with the violence. Help, there's blood on my hands. Somebody save me from myself. I'm off of the meds and it might get hideous. Why so serious? Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious? Change can set some. Never mind, I forgot where I came from. Like wolves in the darkness, we've adapted to blindness. Fall asleep with the sirens out. There's blood on my hands. Somebody save me from myself. I'm off of the meds and it might get hideous. Why so serious? Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious? Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious? Blame it on me. You're just too scared to be lonely. No one's safe from the reaper. Not a saint nor a sinner. Rage under my skin, slowly descending to madness. Let it spread like a virus. Be a friend with the violence. Help, there's blood on my hands. Somebody save me from myself. I'm off of the meds and it might get hideous. Why so serious? Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious? Change can set some. Never mind, I forgot where I came from. Like wolves in the darkness, we've adapted to blindness. Fall asleep with the sirens out. There's blood on my hands. Somebody save me from myself. I'm off of the meds and it might get hideous. Why so serious? Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious? Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious?
Rightio, there we go. We've got that turned on now. So if you saw a bit earlier, I took a screenshot of this page here on your screen. Just the top part, obviously showing that for some reason, Victoria University of Wellington thought it'd be a phenomenal idea to do a study into perceptions towards people with sexual attraction to children. Yes, because we don't know what the general perception of, the public towards those people are. We never have. So, of course, we need to do a study because it's absolutely, it's really something that we've never been able to figure out as society. So, of course, they want to do a study into it. Now, apparently, it seems the way this study is set out is they'll do a survey. Then they'll try and educate you and then do a survey again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly have a skim over this, and then I've actually got the survey here. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to do what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because stuff them. But generally, anyways, what we have here is they go over and saying that we're invited to take part in this research. Now we have to read this information before deciding whether to take part. If you decide to participate, thank you. If you decide not to participate, thank you for considering the request. So who are we? We are a research team under the supervision of Dr. Edwick Eisenbarth at Victoria University of Wellington. This research project is working towards a postgraduate student's master's thesis looking at perceptions towards people. Okay, firstly, whoever that student doing a postgraduate master's thesis, check their hard drive. What is the aim of this research? This project will examine perceptions towards people with attraction to children, so those aged 14 years and younger, held by members of the community. Your participation will support this research by helping us to understand how our community feel about people with this attraction. This research has been approved by Victoria University of Wellington Human Ethics Committee. Oh well, lovely. They've got great ethics, that lot. How can you help? All members of the community over 18 years old are eligible to participate. If you agree to take part, you will complete 2 surveys and 4 educational modules. The surveys will be 10 days apart and you will need to complete the modules within 8 days after the first survey. This should take approximately 60 minutes altogether, so probably 15 minutes little modules. The surveys will ask you questions about your own attitudes towards people with such an attraction. It will include questions regarding whether you personally know someone who has such an attraction and where you tend to hear or read about people with said attraction. There will also be questions related to the relationship between a attraction to a child and abuse. The surveys will not ask you to discuss your own preferences or personal history of abuse. The survey will take you 10 minutes to complete. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not saying these things out in full, that's purely for it does get flagged. The content does get flagged, particularly on YouTube and TikTok when I eventually put snippets up on there. So it doesn't get flagged, that it doesn't get shadow banned and things like that. For your participation, you will have the opportunity to enter a prize draw with $50 Prezi cards for 10 people drawn from those completing this study. Let's bribe people to participate in such a study because it's so disgusting. This will be available only for those who complete both surveys and all modules sent to you. Completion of the modules is recorded by the program that runs the modules. Please note that surveys and educational modules deals with the sensitive and potentially upsetting content. If you feel that engaging with this content may cause you distress, please take care of yourself and consider not taking part in this research. If you feel that you need support, please see the bottom of the sheet. What will happen to the information you give? To receive the surveys and modules, you will need to provide an email address. This will be held separately from the survey responses you provide and will not be linked to that data, meaning the data will be anonymous. Oh, thank goodness, because I can't imagine how many sick-minded people may actually take part in this. I would hope very, very few. But, let's still go back and consider the hard drive of that person doing a thesis. The researcher's name below will be able to see this email address, so this research project is confidential. Once you submit the second survey, it will be impossible to retract your answers as your responses are not linked to any email address. If you would like to stop participating in the research, you can click the opt-out button at the bottom of every page on both surveys, or you can refrain from participating in the modules and second survey. Email addresses will also be collected again for those who wish to enter the prize draw as a koha for your participation. Oh, how kind. These email addresses will be received separately from the surveys and will be held separately to any survey responses. Again, the researcher's name below will be able to see the email address and will contact you via this email if you are drawn as a prize winner. What I find concerning is the emphasis on anonymity. The emphasis on anonymity is extreme here. Really, if you're participating in this, unless you've got a ridiculous position, you shouldn't have to worry about anonymity at all. The anonymous data that you provide will be shared after data analyses in accordance with open science practices and deleted from Victoria University servers after 10 years. All identifiable data, email addresses will be deleted at the end of the data collection period. What will the project produce? The results from the research will be used in a master's thesis and may be published in a peer-reviewed journal and presented at conferences. Feedback you provide on the modules may be used to refine these for future use. Here's my recommendation. Use it for the master's thesis and then forget it exists. So that's about all that. Moving on to the actual survey itself. Perceptions towards people with a sexual attraction to children study. Survey A. Demographics. Who am I? I'm a male. Thanks for that. I'm not an attention seeker, and I'm not an alien. All right, enter age 24, everybody. Now, please select the ethnicities, multiple if needed. Beautiful, done. Where have you previously read or heard about? I've never read or heard about it, really. We'll go with social media posts, because, actually, news stories, because our mainstream media like to push this nonsense too. Absolutely none. There we go. Please select how much you agree with the following statements. Attraction is something that you choose for yourself. Goodness gracious. Wait, see, this is this issue. Are they trying to gauge what I think about me personally? Is it something that I choose for myself? Or is it trying to establish whether or not someone who does have this affliction, whether or not it's something that they choose? Or whether it's just, something that's just part of them. That's the difficulty with this. I'm going to presume that they're not asking about me specifically, because it is, of course, about what the perceptions I have of those people are. So, is something that you choose for yourself. Now, here I'm actually going to put somewhat to disagree. I'm going to put neither. See, I'm going to put somewhat disagree. I think generally speaking, you choose it and you choose to act on it, you choose to feed it, but of course it doesn't just come out of nowhere. So with that, it's about battling those demons and coming up on top against those demons, but you are more at fault than not for having such an affliction. And as such, yes, I think you do choose for yourself, but I mean, let's not be completely ridiculous here. I think there is a good bit of wiggle room for understanding that such attractions, they don't come out of nowhere, but you manifesting them, retaining them, that's on you. So yes, you do choose it for yourself to a certain extent, and so that's the basis of my answer. If you disagree, that's fine. If someone has such an attraction to children, there's nothing they can do about it. Strongly disagree. If you always have the ability to do something about it, just get over yourself. It's their own fault. Yes, again, I think that's kind of basically the exact same as the first one. So I want to put this somewhere. You can manage that, you can push it aside, and you can work towards improving yourself so that you no longer have such a feeling. People need to realize that lustful feelings, be them normal ones or crazy ones, they can be managed to a point where you no longer have lustful feelings. It's about making the right decisions, relying on the right people, relying on the right deities, whatever you believe. It is always within your control. People can decide whether they have a attraction or not. Yes, and I've just said that. It is a disposition that you cannot do anything about. Why are they just having the exact same question? Like, it's just stupid. I think they're trying to trip people up with these questions, quite frankly. They have consciously decided to have this. Absolutely, they've consciously decided to have it. Absolutely, they've consciously decided to have this orientation because they actually have a means of dealing with it, looking at what they're feeling and deciding, no, that's not right, I'm going to do something different. People with such an attraction should be preemptively taken into custody. preemptively strongly disagree. No one should be taken into custody unless they've actually committed a crime. One should not condemn people with attraction too harshly. Strongly disagree. You can condemn them to kingdom come. That is completely within your rights. They should be castrated. No, because again, you don't have the right to be punished for actions you haven't, for simply having thoughts and feelings. Actions, different story. Known people with such an attraction should be sentenced for life as a deterrence. Again, no, if you haven't committed a crime, you should not be punished. Should be allowed to work? Absolutely not. They shouldn't be allowed to work with children. That's like saying that someone who is a radical arsonist, like they're just a recidivist arsonist, should be working anywhere where there's fire. Stupid. The community should have a right to get informed if it's known to the authorities and they move into that neighborhood. Absolutely, they should have the right to be informed. Absolutely. Now, if the authorities don't know, then of course, what are you going to do, right? But 100% that if someone with such an attraction moves into your community and the authorities know about it, you have a right as the community to know. When I think about a person with that, I feel pity. Pity? I mean, I always feel pity for people that are struggling with things, be them bad or whatever. But I'm still going to say somewhat disagree there because I don't care, lad. I pity your weakness as an individual. I pity the fact that this is becoming a big part of who you are and you can't push past it. I pity that. I don't pity the actual feeling itself. I feel disgust. I mean, most people would probably be saying that strongly agree. I feel anger. Anger, no, I don't generally hold anger towards people. It's different with someone having such an attraction, with them actually committing an act and, that's consistent with certain attraction. So it's very different. In this specific situation, I would have to say neither agree nor disagree, because I don't generally feel anger towards people if I can avoid it. I don't think it's healthy. And in this case, I'm not going to feel angry at someone just because they have thoughts I don't like. I feel fear. Why would I feel fear? I'm a 24-year-old man. People are not responsible for their preferences, but they are responsible for their behavior. Absolutely, and that's what I was going on about in that first section. Does not require treatment. Strongly disagree. 100% requires treatment, especially for those who don't seem to be able to get over it on their own. It's not pathological. Great question. Not pathological. I'm just going to put it straight down the middle. I think some things can, in a lot of areas, in a lot of areas of life and behaviors that we call pathological, people can do that because of for pathological reasons, but also other reasons. Like, people get called pathological liars all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone that lies does so pathologically. I'm going to say neither agree nor disagree because fortunately I don't have any insight, do I? But yeah. No, I'm not going to sit here and say it's one thing or the other. I simply, maybe the modules they do will give me more insights, although I expect it'll be trying to earn me in the direction they want. I'm going to say somewhat agree. I think it's certainly errs more on the pathological side of things. It's a mental disorder. If you're putting it in the same boat as schizophrenia, then I strongly disagree. They're normal people with an infrequent sexual orientation. Normal people with an infrequent sexual orientation. So I'm presuming, unless I'm mistaken, that's trying to say they're normal people, but it's just something that's less common. Yeah, get stuffed. People with this attraction are sick. Yeah, of course they're sick. It's not normal. Someone who has sexual attraction but never abuses a child is not mentally ill. That doesn't even make sense. It's not the action that's ill, it's the thought that's ill. Both are sick, but both of them, only one is ill. The action itself is just you acting out on that illness. People with such an attraction should be forced to undergo therapy. Forced? This is a difficult one. Forced. Forced. I always have trouble with the idea of force. Unless they've committed an act, I don't believe in force. If they've committed a criminal act as a result of this, then absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to put somewhat agree because I feel like the most likely scenario in which someone would be found out to have such a thing will be if they've actually committed an act. People with such an attraction should experience leniency. Absolutely not. There should be no leniency. There should be a website listing people with such an attraction with name, photo, address, only because they added address. Only because they added an address. I'm going to go somewhat disagree only because I disagree with part of it. Should be chemically castrated. We've already kind of gone over that. No. Unless you've committed a crime, there shouldn't be any consequences of this sort. And even then, I'm not someone who believes in the maiming of other people's bodies as a form of punishment. Privacy of people with such an attraction is more important than the information. Disagree. Get over it. Should be sentenced. Again, just because they're known to have such an attraction doesn't mean they deserve to die. Such forms of deterrence are basically, you're basically doing the exact same argument for eugenics with people who are disabled or poor. So, no. Please select how much you, of course, we're already done that. Do not act on this attraction. People who have such an attraction but do not act on their attraction deserve professional support. I believe anyone with such an attraction that needs help with it deserves professional support. So I, of course, strongly agree, but it should not just be limited to those who do not act on it. It should be provided to everyone. People with such an attraction who do not act on their attraction deserve support from family and friends. Everyone deserves support from their family and friends no matter what. People with such an attraction deserve access to mental health care, of course. There should be programs in New Zealand to help manage people's attraction. I mean, there should always be things to help people, but let's not pretend like this is just some very normal thing. Prevention programs may reduce the risk of people with such an attraction. I mean, again, how are we supposed to take issue with programs aimed at prevention, aimed at giving them healthcare and support to not act on these things and even potentially get rid of these thoughts altogether? We should, of course, 100% support all these things. So these just seem like run-of-the-mill, everyone should be ticking yes questions. Who do not act on their sexual attraction deserve to be accepted in society. No one deserves to be accepted in society. No one deserves it. You either are or you are not. You can do everything you possibly can to be accepted by society, and if someone doesn't agree, they don't agree. That's just life. People with such an attraction are dangerous to the children. Absolutely, they're dangerous. They are, well, unless they've actually committed such an offence, then they technically aren't, but they are odds on to become such. So we're going to put neutral, because unless they've actually committed the act, well, I mean, you can't really say that they're offenders. There exists no strong relationship between such an attraction and, well, that's just really, so they're trying to say that there is no strong relationship between feelings of attraction to children and the acting of those feelings onto children. How dumb. Many people with a sexual attraction never have any contact with a child. How would I know? How would I know? I'm going to presume it's yes, because a lot of people are generally cowards, especially if they've got such a thing. I'm going to say majority don't, but it's probably only just. I'm going to go in the middle because I just don't have a clue, quite frankly. And how could you even measure that? Unless you're aware of it, how would you know? Unless you know the stats or the number of people who have such an attraction, how could you possibly know? And it would be impossible for you to establish how many people actually have such an attraction. So, seriously. Sooner or later, I'm going to say I agree. Sooner or later, it does lead to it. Not in absolutely every case, but sooner or later. I feel confident in my understanding of this, that those who What? How much you agree with? I feel confident in my understanding of such attraction and those who experience this. How would I feel? I mean, I feel confident in everything I've said up to this point. I don't feel confident that I understand these people, though. These are weird questions. I feel the knowledge I have is accurate. The knowledge I have should be next to nothing. I feel confident in the knowledge of my point of view. I feel confident in my point of view. That's about it. What the fuck are these? I'm sorry, what are these questions? I worry that by discussing such attraction, I will be treated negatively by others. It depends why I'm discussing it and from what position I'm discussing it. What is my perspective on it? That's a bizarre question. I would feel comfortable. No, I don't think I would ever feel comfortable discussing it, but nor do I worry about it. I'm just going to put neutral on these because these questions, I don't like them. Okay, so that's that. That is that. All the big unis are government owned, 100%. I do need to change the colour of that text, by the way, people. But yes, all the big unis are government owned. Government needs to warn Victoria University. Yes, they do. They 100% need to warn Victoria University not to be doing things like this. So yeah, it's extremely bizarre. I do not get it. Hopefully any future text should come in black now. But I probably won't do too much more than this. I just wanted to go over that because, well, I think not everyone will. Some of us, I'm obviously going to try and cover it. I'll even try and go into the modules if I can, when and if those arrive. But it is stunning to me, absolutely stunning. The Victoria University want to sit here and pretend like this is somehow a sort of investigation that we need to do. Perhaps, sure, because someone wants to do their thesis on it, they decided, okay, we'll talk about how we can do a thesis on it. There you go, let's do the study. But I mean, why does this person want to do a thesis on that of all things? I would love to know the politics of this person because that is a bizarre thing to do a thesis on. Extremely bizarre. You couldn't really pick a more contentious issue. Like seriously, why? Why, oh why, has the person studying at Victoria University thought, this is what I'm going to do? And so I repeat again, check their hard drive, because that is extremely, extremely bizarre. But I am very, very pleased with the response that we're getting on this. So far we've had 9,500 views on my post just saying defund them now. 9,500, and so many comments. How many comments we're at? We're at 82, 105 retweets. And so let's have I'll have a quick read of a couple of the comments just because, I mean, of course, Rachel, she's written that, I believe many people are reading this wrongly. Victoria are not looking for, pedophiles, but looking for people who apply who they can survey and get their, get their views on it, which is what I've just done. And so in that respect, Rachel, 100% correct. And hope you're having a good week. This has to be the most out-of-pocket live stream ever in my recommendation. Well, yes, nothing but out-of-pocket. I certainly need to make more changes to the chat as well so I can actually see your guys' names the next time anyways. But yes, it is pretty out-of-pocket, but it needed to be done. People need to be made aware of this because it is the most bizarre study that I've seen in a long time. And the fact that it's being advertised just around the university with whole things about talking about, let's go into stigma. And the fact that they brought up stigma suggests that they really coming from a position of we don't think that the attitudes towards these people is fair, that somehow it's maybe a bit harsh, the attitudes that people with such attraction have. So that is the issue that I'm having with it. But anyways, more comments. We've got, so Carlton Dustin says, stop the sexualization of children, stand against this. Children deserve protection from predators, 100%. Once we're Kiwis, says research question mark. How about a simple poll? We all loathe them. Only academics looking for funding would turn a blind eye to that fact, 100%. What is it they want to achieve exactly? Well, that's the good question. What is it they want to achieve? Clearly, what they want to achieve is someone wants to do a thesis on it, but why they want to do a thesis is anyone's guess. Of course, the every now and then people will say source because they don't trust that I'm actually telling the truth for whatever reason. Never thought I'd see this in NZ. Following politics, 21-22. This is the sort of thing you would see in LA or New York City. 100%. It's a real shame that we're starting to see this garbage in our universities, but it's just the way the world is now, isn't it? And I was saying this in the comment section. Academia thinks they have a monopoly on the truth. So they don't even care what 99% of the world thinks. They believe that they have a monopoly on the truth. They get to dictate what everyone else in the world thinks. That's what they believe. And so they will make stupid things like this to try and assert that dominance, that monopoly on the truth. That's why gender doesn't exist anymore because academia deemed it so. And everyone knows that academia, what they say, that goes. We don't have a choice. Side the Perception says we need context. I mean, more or less we're getting it. We're getting the context. It's just someone that wants to do a thesis. Good old Adnan Belushi, just one of those blushed faces of what? But yeah, there's a range of different comments. I want to try and look. William Harper, I try to think the best of people. Perhaps they are trying to identify maps and report them to the police. If only it was set up for that. Not impossible, maybe you're right, but I think it highly unlikely. If anything, the person that needs to be reported to the police is the person doing the thesis. It's something you'd see in the USA. And by the way, people, I do notice you can see my cursor on the screen going side to side on a page that you can't actually see. So forgive me that I'm just on X right now. But yes, not just. I Am June says not just defund, but seize their computers, devices, and put them on a watch list. Money shouldn't be wasted on drivel like this. Kind of agree. And of course, there's been other people that have been tagging in, government ministers and a range of different people. So, for example, Sylvie says, "What the hell is this for?" Erica Stanford. What's that? TEC funds and tertiary education. What is it? Confederation or whatever. NZ, Wellington Uni, Chris Luxon, Prime Minister, David Seymour, and Winston Peters. Looks like it is for the purpose of indoctrinating young people to accept pedos as nice people who get a bad rap. Now, to be fair, if I had to put money on it, that's what I would imagine that they are trying to do. But I'll quickly come in here. Just give me a moment, people. Let's just go boxed. Okay. Hopefully, it'll be much. I can be able to see people's names now when you continue to comment. What I'll also do is window capture. And moment. Okay, so we got defund them now. All right. Okay, for some reason my X isn't coming up. Let's try this again. Okay, there we go. That should do the trick. Thank you very much. So now X is up on screen. As you can see, we've got a lot of comments here. And I'm very pleased that so many people were wanting to share them. Basically, look at it this way. They don't even need the survey. They can just come to, good old Eric McRae, look at his comment section, and there you go. There's your study. Nothing further. Nothing further, Your Honour. Actually, moving quickly, what do you think of the old Eliana Rabashkin? Eli Rabashkin nonsense. Convicted and then discharged. I don't think a slap on the wrist is good enough, quite frankly. Not good enough. Sure, get the conviction on your name. Huh. Speaking of polling, well, we're not, but we are now. This has just dropped. Roy Morgan in August. National 36, up 3.5. Labour 26.5, up 2.5. Greens down 1 to 13. ACT down 1.5 to 9.5. NZ First up 1 to 7.5. Te Pāti Māori down 2.5 to 3.5. And Top down 2 to 2.5. So overall, that is a net gain, a good net gain for the centre-right, for the coalition. Doing quick maths off the top of my head, that's a gain of 3%. So gain of 3% for themselves, and then the Greens to Pāti Māori are down 3.5. Then you can technically include Top in there, but we'll ignore them for now. So 3.5. So it's a -1. So it's a 4% in favour of the coalition there, which is very, very useful. Although admittedly, Roy Morgan is a bit of a shambles these days when it comes to looking at polling that I actually think is plausible. Though this one kind of makes sense, if I'm honest. It seems the most realistic that they've actually put out since the election, to be honest. So I think this is, every now and then Roy Morgan will kind of find that middle ground balance out, which for some reason takes a month or two to go, or a few months to actually reach. And then after that they'll go wacky for a bit, and then they'll kind of fall back and they'll find this baseline that is kind of expected. And this seems to be more or less what is expected with the polling at the moment. So I think this might actually be a good month for Roy Morgan. It's been a bit crazy all year though. I mean, for example, the idea that Te Pāti Māori was at 5% last month, no. The idea that the Greens have been, the Greens have somehow been hanging in there for quite a while, in the kind of mid-teens. It doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, she got convicted. The irony about Welly is that they're something. Okay. They're something. And I realise now I'm on, actually I'll just change X to white, however I do that. That way you can see everything much better. Oh, and yes, if you didn't know, this is me. It's just where I go for sport and other nonsense. I always forget how to change thing. There we go. There we go. Now we'll be able to see everyone's text better. Changing to that. There we go. I'm quite a fan of the white, even though dark is nice. I'm quite a fan of the white. The irony about Welly is that they're woke and don't build houses. Yeah, they're woke and don't build houses. Sounds about right. Wellington is, I don't know who in their right mind wants to move to Wellington unless it's to study. But, given what, for example, Victoria University of Wellington is putting funding towards, why would you want to study there in the first place? But actually, you know what? I'm sure Simon won't mind. A quick look at Simon here. The Labour and Green parties support political violence against their opponents and convicting their activist Eliana Rabashkin today for assaulting the Posey Parker and Tanya Sturt. The NZ courts repudiated left-wing hate. Ms. Sturt spoke with me after the sentence was imposed. Make sure to go to Simon R. Anderson right now, or just after this, and go watch this. I'll be retweeting it, so you can also find it on my feed. And of course, Rachel. Please don't give Rachel any hate. Rachel is an absolute gem, standing standing really alongside the women who opposed what was happening to Posey Parker. So, Rachel's a very reasonable person. I was fortunate enough to sit down and have a drink and some food. I didn't talk too much because I'm me. I didn't have much in common, to be fair. But a lovely person. So Rachel, someone that you can definitely, I think definitely find a middle ground with on interviews you have with all the transgender stuff. So definitely don't write them off simply because of how they look, being openly transsexual and so forth. What's Karina had to say? The one thing I've never addressed publicly about Albert Park, and I think it's high time I did because I'm yet to see anyone else address this on this platform. Why did the Auckland sector of organisers of Let Women Speak even bring the Posey Parker into Albert Park? The area surrounding the rotunda was swarmed, and it was clearly evident there was a lack of police presence. As much as we want to blame police for everything that went wrong, there is clear evidence that Eli Rubber Chicken was invited in. There is clear evidence it wasn't a safe situation to bring Kelly J. Keane into, and yet it still happened. And where is the apology from the organisers that day to everyone in attendance? Where are the organisers saying they fucked up for bringing her in? If we're going to get this fight right, we need to start by being completely honest. And honestly, women were just let down by other women that day, not just the police, and that is in part why Kelly J. Keane was assaulted with tomato juice. Down with tomato juice. I do need to fix the lighting in here, by the way, people. Just one house is being consented in Welly for every 10 houses in Auckland. That's actually pathetic, isn't it? Actually pathetic. What's interesting is on my end, when I'm looking at my my streaming software right here, the actual how good the lighting looks. It looks much better on my end than it does coming through. So for that I can apologize. I'll quickly configure some settings. Just reduce the brightness a smidge and the contrast a smidge, as well as turn on low light compensation perhaps. What I want to do is I'm going to, okay, that's already on lowest. That should hopefully help. And I think it already has helped by looking at it. So, bravo me. Oh. We'll see how that comes through. But yes, it's interesting to see. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that Eliana Rabashkin was convicted. I didn't expect a conviction. I mean, I know I was with Simon when Golries Garman was rejected her discharge without conviction, and so I'm sure he might have had a similar face again when he saw that Eliana did indeed get convicted. But I don't think anyone's particularly surprised that there was no surprised that there wasn't any actual punishment to go along with that. So it's whatever. I think I know what the issue actually is, people. When I have a big bright screen on in front of me, it's really bad on the lighting, which actually makes sense, I'm not going to lie. So, oh well, we just have to put up with that. I'll keep it like on the screen for now. But anyways, yes, make sure to go look at Simon Anderson to see all of the goodies regarding Eliana Rabashkin. And of course, you can also see my latest stuff over on X. But I think that's going to about wrap it up for me because I really only came on to do that survey for Victoria University into their maps problem. Yes, they're studying maps, and not the kind that we all like. So make sure you have a very lovely week, everyone. I'll try and get back on at some point this week and talk about some other rubbish. But in the meantime, I will be sure to keep everyone up to date on the survey and the the modules that are supposedly coming out, and we'll